So, Satisfactory has hit the 1.0 version. This is now a full release game, and it's taken them about 5.5 years to get to where they currently are. So what we're going to do in this video is go through, is it worth playing the 1.0 version of Satisfactory? And the footage you are seeing in the background is a completely brand new game because my old save was from around 4.5, maybe 5 years ago. I haven't played much of this game since it first sort of launched into early access. I spent hours and hours and hours on the game when it did first come into early access, but then I'd completed pretty much everything that was available on offer in the game, and I never really came back to it through the updates and stuff because there were a bunch of updates they've done over the 5.5 years. But now in the game, for an example, you have things like Mark 6 conveyor belts, you've got Tier 9, which gives you a bunch of new things. There is so much stuff they've added in, not just throughout the years with the updates, but also for 1.0. There's quality of life and everything like that as well. And on top of all of that, in November 2023, they upgraded the engine to Unreal Engine 5, so the game looks a lot better than it did when it first launched into early access. But based on playing, I'm going to say a little bit, I played maybe 2 or 3 hours or so in the 1.0 version of the game. The game's whole premise is exactly the same. You start off with basically nothing, you have to go get biomass, you have to do a couple of basic upgrades, and then once you get through some of the hub upgrades, you can get your conveyor belts, you get your first miner, you've got smelters, there's storage containers, so on and so forth. This game, through the work of the developers, is so smooth, and that's not just in terms of the movement, like the crafting, like pretty much everything in this game that I've experienced feels really good. And you do start with like the most basic stuff you can get. You have your Mark 1 conveyor belts. As I said, you've got the miners and things, but you do have to play a little bit before you even gain access to those. And what you need to do in the game is basically just keep upgrading. You go from your Mark 1s and you do upgrades and stuff like that. There is a lot of grinding in this game. But with the amount of content that's on offer, the amount of updates and stuff they've done to optimize the game, add quality of life stuff, and just keep improving the game over the years, there is a reason that Satisfactory is known as one of the best automation games there is. I thoroughly enjoyed playing the game when it first launched into early access. However, I did get bored because there was a really limited amount of stuff you could do back then. Obviously, with the amount of updates they've done over 5.5 years, it kind of proves the point that there was barely anything to do compared to what there is now. But I did really enjoy my time on it. And coming back to the game after all these years and playing from the very start, I'm going to say the experience is 20, 30, 40, even 50 times better than what it was back then. The only thing is, I played with friends when it launched into early access, and I've jumped onto the 1.0 version on my own, and it's a totally different experience. Everything takes you so much longer when you are on your own. So when it comes to Satisfactory 1.0, they have done a load of work to get the game to where it is. The game runs smooth, the automation is incredible, the different amounts of different marked conveyor belts and different basically different tiers of stuff. To answer the question, is it worth playing this game? If you like the idea of automation games, 100% yes, is worth playing. However, my biggest recommendation is that you either have some friends to play with, or you can join a Discord server or something like that and find some other people to play with. I do not recommend playing this game on your own, only because if you're playing with friends, say there are 4 of you in a session together, you're going to get things done 4 times as fast. You can have one person working on iron, one on limestone, one on copper, then you can have one going out gathering leaves for biomass. Whereas if you're playing on your own, you have to do all of that by yourself. It makes everything take so long, and it's kind of draining. I actually went and took breaks and did some other stuff on the side whilst my character was standing there with the little tool smacking into limestone. But before the miners and stuff, like the automation part of it, you do get these little portable miners you can put down, but they're probably just as tedious as manually mining everything if you're playing on your own, because they cap at having, for an example, if you've got one on copper ore, they cap at having 100 in them, then they just stop working, so you have to go and collect the stack, then they start working again, get up to 100, go and collect it. So Satisfactory is a really, really good game, runs smooth, looks good, and everything like that, but I do not recommend playing this game on your own just purely because of how grindy the game is. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. That's pretty much how the game is designed. You're setting up an automated factory. You're not going to be able to do that in a very short amount of time. But yeah, this one I highly recommend playing if you've never played before or if you've taken a long break from the game or whatever. But I do highly recommend that you play it with other people. And that is going to do it for my opinion about Satisfactory, the 1.0 version of the game. And what we are going to do is leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about this game in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.